Well, the Marquette Law School poll focusing on the upcoming midterm primaries was released yesterday.
Our political reporter Will Keneally talked with Anthony Chergosky, political science professor from UW-La Crosse, who emphasized the importance of the latest polling.
I think the Marquette Law poll that came out yesterday just raises the stakes even more for this convention because of how close the Democratic primary for Senate is, how many undecided voters there still are, and just how consequential these next weeks of campaigning are going to be.
And Charles Franklin is the director of the Marquette Law School poll. He joins us now. Welcome to you.
Good to be back.
Well, in the words of Dan Rather, these races are as tight as the rusted lug nuts on a 55 Ford.
That's right. So things are...
How do you follow that?
You can't. We miss the Dan Ratherism, that's for sure.
Apparently.
All right, let's take a look at some of your numbers, and let's start with the Republican primary for governor.
This is the first one we've done since Michaels got in the race, and he has a 1-point edge over Rebecca Clayfish. Michaels wasn't in the race last time we polled, so he's picked up a good chunk. It looks like he got most of that from people who were undecided. That number's still pretty high at about 32% undecided, but it looks like most of his support came from there. Clayfish is down 6 points, so she may have suffered some losses. Bottom line, though, is there are two clear front runners there, tight as that lug nut. And then the second tier is a good ways back.
And margin of error here is what?
In the primaries, it's a little over 6 percentage points, so 1% is obviously way inside the margin of error.
So then that brings us to the Democratic primary then. How's that looking?
It's also close, though not quite as close.
It's for Senate.
For the Senate, U.S. Senate. Mandela Barnes at 25, Alex Lasry at 21, a 4-point margin. And again, there's a second tier of Godlewski and Nelson who are fair ways back from that. Here, all four candidates picked up a little support in the last 2 months, but the margin of Lasry and Barnes was 3 points 2 months ago. It's 4 points now, not much difference there. Again, no breakout leader, and here too, there's over a third of Democrats who haven't chosen a candidate yet.
So they have not made a decision.
That's right, and I think this is a typical pattern. Democrats like all of their candidates. Republicans like most of their candidates. It's hard to choose between fellow partisans that you like. And so people put it off, take a while to figure out who they're going to support. Much lower undecideds when we get to the general election.
Speaking of the general election, let's do some hypotheticals. Let's do Governor Tony Evers against Rebecca Clayfish.
This is the closest of the governor's races, with Evers leading by 4 points over Clayfish. It drops off with the other candidates. Evers' lead gets a bit bigger. That's just barely inside the margin of error. So I think we'd characterize it as Evers has an advantage or maybe an edge, but you're not quite ready to call it a clear lead at this point.
So then as of now, what would that race look like between Governor Evers and then Tim Michaels?
With Michaels, the Evers lead is 7 points. So Clayfish and Michaels are dead even in the primary, but she's more competitive with Evers than Michaels is at this point. Michaels is still introducing himself to voters. There are a lot of people that aren't familiar with any of these candidates, and he's a little less familiar to voters than Clayfish is.
And it seems like Ron Johnson is a little vulnerable in his race.
His race is tighter than this governor's race. Democrats lead him in 3 of the matchups by either 2 points or 1 point, and Johnson leads Lasry by 3 points. Again, that's all inside the margin of error. So any little thing could tip this one way or the other. I think the way to look at both of these is a slight edge to Evers in the governor's race, but a very, very competitive Senate race, no matter who the nominee is.
We'll come up with some more tight Ratherisms for the next time you're on.
We'll work on those,
okay.
Absolutely.
Charles, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll see you soon.